Good afternoon, Shirley. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm
Good
good.
afternoon.
How are you?
Yes, I'm doing pretty well. Pretty well. It was rainy today in Santa Cruz. It was raining
Mhm.
the entire morning. So better, right? Because I told you, I think some days ago that there was so much, so much, you know, basically there was a huge layer of polluted air. And now I hope that because of the recycling system of the earth through rain, we're going to be having a very clear air again. But yeah, very optimistic because of that. What about you? What do you do today in the laboratory?
Yeah, this is good day, probably. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm working in the lab again, and today I had class for the epidemiology. And yeah, and this is in the afternoon. In the morning, I study for my class. Yeah.
For your class? You had the only class that you told me about, right?
Yeah.
The one about what was it about?
Epidemiology basis tuberculosis control.
Yes, tuberculosis. Yes, I remind. And you had to study, right? What you told me that it's necessary for you to go prepared, already prepared to these classes, right? You cannot go and wait for the professor to teach you, but you have to go already study by yourself, right?
Yeah, that's
Interesting. And
correct.
what was today's topic? What was
Sorry?
today's topic? What was today's topic that you studied in the
Uh,
morning?
yeah, for the study, I studied for my presentation, and you every week do you have a specific paper. So do you
Mhm.
need to study that paper, and probably in your case, do you select it for the presenter that paper? So
Yes.
or do you need to discuss? So that's a surprise when you enter in the room.
What was today's paper about?
Ah, today this is like mortality for the extremality drug resistant for tuberculosis
Okay.
in co-infecting with HIV.
hmm So mortality and resistance, you say, right?
Yeah, so they are the people that is the population that are the co-infection
hmm
with HIV and tuberculosis. So these people they have different resistance for antibiotic for treatment tuberculosis. So they are
Okay.
different level for resistant
I
antibiotics.
get it.
So, yeah, so they are the multi-drug resistant and extremely drug resistant. So the mortality in this specific group, the XDR, say, in
hmm
tuberculosis and AHP, that is probably the 98%. So that is terrible. This is in Africa, South Africa.
hmm
This study
All right.
for paper.
Oh, very intriguing. And is there any factor that decides how how good you are in tolerating, not tolerating, tolerating this disease? Does something have any effect on it? That is to say, for example, I think that you mentioned Africa, right? So I guess people who live in Africa, you say, may have less tolerance and they are more prone, and also they are more, well, somehow they have more risks to get this disease, as far as I understand. But is there any reason or a characteristic that determines people's uh, very short and reduced tolerance to this disease, or is it something completely random? That is to say, if you are good at tolerating it, well, good for you, but if you are not, that's it. Or is there any way to get more tolerance for this disease?
Yeah, this depends because there are different islands for mycobacterium tuberculosis. So see,
Mm-hmm.
this isolate they had the gene specific for resistance.
All
Okay,
right.
you don't respond for the antibiotic. This disease specific quick resistant can disseminate in this area. So you can transmit another people with a specific gene with resistant.
Okay, I get it. So it's a matter of genetics, Ren, right?
Yeah,
a matter of genetics.
For the bacteria and the mycobacterium resistant, not your specific in your body. That is the bacteria.
Yes, right. Yes. So basically, if you have good genes, of course, given to you or passed to you by your parents, you're going to become very much, uh, how is this called? This is called resistant, right? Person towards this disease. Nonetheless, if you have not received a good quality in your genetic material, then you are probably going to be very vulnerable to the disease, right? So there's no way to prevent it by yourself apart from having good genetics. Or is there any way that, for example, somebody who has not a good genetic material could also anyways get a good protection against the disease? Is there any way to gain resistance against the disease even when you don't have that superior genetic? Is that possible?
For a evitar, avoid, yeah, like avoid for this contagio transmission for
like, yes, like preventing, right? Avoiding, yes. Is there any way to do it?
Like evitar, avoid?
Yes, exactly. Yes, yes, to prevent it, to avoid it by yourself. I mean, not by genetic studies or genetic intervention, but merely as, I don't know, for example, eating a particular fruit or making exercise or drinking a lot of water. Tell me, is there any way to do it by yourself by, well, exercising a particular, I don't know, characteristic of yours, as I say, as exercise or as drinking water, eating something specific? Is there any way?
Depends. The cities, I was talking about only tuberculosis, the particular for the resistant antibiotic in this mycobacterium or tuberculosis. Yeah, you can see you have another people when you work or your anyway they had tuberculosis. You're talking about that's people. The people can transmit you, but depend. You can have defense for the antibody, good care. So you can know this like infection with this disease. Probably you detect the different bacteria, or you have the like latent tuberculosis.
Okay, yes. All right, I get it. So it's a matter of maybe avoiding people who have the disease and taking care of your health, right? I guess that is the best prevention that exists for this disease, right? Because of course it's something that happens eventually, right? I mean, you don't decide to do it, or there's not a particular way that you somehow, I don't know, you do something that in consequence later provokes the disease of tuberculosis to come to you, right? It's just a matter of chance sometimes. But yes, I mean, I understand. Very interesting though. Very complicated disease, right? I find it to be very intriguing, especially because it's something very much well, very much infectious, as you said, right? How much percentage of people get the disease at some point in the world?
In the world, there's around 8% in the people.
8%. 8%. Okay.
This is disease that is higher in the world for the mortality.
All right. Yeah. Mortality.
Yeah. That's the beginning.
So basically, if you get it, there are very, very reduced possibilities that you're going to restore and you're going to continue living.
you continue giving, but the problem is you don't have training or control for this disease, you can dead.
Okay, I get it. Yes. Very interesting. Well, yeah. So I guess it's better to to hope not to have it at some point, right, in your life. Very interesting. But I guess the treatment is very advanced to this point, right? In human history, I guess there are a lot of pills or medicine that has proven to be effective against the disease, or there is no a particular medicine that you could say, well, this heals tuberculosis, or is there any particular way to heal that?
No, the treatment does work very well, but the problem is when the disease is advanced, or the problem is the drug resistant. So that's, or when you have another factor rise, like ISB or diabetes. So that's different.
All right. Yes, I get it. And did you make your presentation orally? That is to say, I don't know, you stood in front of the class and you started to speak aloud, or how was your exam? Let's say, how was your test? How was the professor able to punctuate your performance?
Depend. Today I don't present, but in the final, we had only one test. In the final test, that's just like, it's writing. You have a problem and you need answer for the
Yeah, you told me about that. You told me about that. But I was asking,
solution for the opinion.
Yes. You told me about that. Yes, that's very interesting. And the question that I was making was for today's assignment, because you were telling me that you had to study something today, right? How was the professor able to evaluate how good you performed at it? That is to say, did you make a presentation today in front of the class? Did you speak publicly? I mean, you made an exposition today? Or how was the professor able to evaluate your knowledge of the subject? Today, in today's class, how was the professor able to evaluate you? You made a presentation, an exposition, or you just presented a paper? I don't know. How was it?
Okay, recently I can hear and can listen me. So yeah, I answered your question, but do you have a specific paper? Do you do you make the 5 slide and see if you're selected for the presentation, you need the point in the front in their course for 5 minutes. Do you have only 5 minutes?
Okay. Did it ever happen to you? Did it ever happen to you that you were selected? I mean, that you got the turn to go in front of the class and to expose, or it has not happened to you yet?
Not yet. Probably that's the way. I don't know. Probably.
I mean, it's auditory, right? It's random, or is it by turns?
No, it's random.
It's random. All right. Well, hope you have the opportunity. It's going to be a very good way to practice your public speaking, right? Especially in English.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. You tell me when you have your turn, okay? It's gonna be interesting to see how you perform on it, especially because it's a scientific matter and stuff like that. So well, fantastic. So okay, so let's start then with the class. Thank you very much for telling me about it. It's always a pleasure to listen to that. All right, so let's go then with okay, so today I had planned to move on with well, to start with a very quick quizzes so that we can check out yesterday's lesson. If you remember, yesterday we learned about different things, right? Well, but the main one was this. I don't know if you remember. It was, let me see here. No, this is not.
The future continuous. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the future continuous. Yeah, right. Very good. I see you remember the future continuous. Yes. So let's let's practice very quickly with very short quizzes to remind everything that we saw yesterday. Let me look for it quickly. Quizzes. Oh, by the way, did you talk to Ruth about what you told me yesterday?
For the holiday?
Yes.
Yeah, I talking. Yeah, she said I can total with you. So you're right. We can change the date.
All right. Okay. Yes. So, I mean, so what would you like to do? Would you like to have the class anyways? Because as I say, like for me, it's the same because even if I have the class with you tomorrow, then I always work during the Saturdays, so it's not going to like allow me to be free on Saturdays for September 24th. I mean, right? So it doesn't really matter. So maybe I mean, what I wanted to ask is, would you like to have the class tomorrow? I mean, you wouldn't like to have it on September 24th because maybe you are planning to go out for September 24th to talk with your friends, or is it the same for you? I mean, if we have it tomorrow, or if we have it anyways on September 24th, is it fine for you anyways, or do you have any plan specifically for September 24th?
Yeah, I had to plan for. I think I probably I would like to travel for the 2024 and 25 because that's week I don't have class, so I can travel. So
Okay.
I would like to move it that day.
Okay. Yes. Okay. It's okay then. I get it. Well,
So
it's fine.
I can take the class tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, you
You're
can.
right
Certainly.
with that.
Yes. Yes. Why not? Yes. As I said, it's okay for me. Like yes. It's completely fine. So let's have it tomorrow then. On the same time, right? Or can you have it earlier, or is it okay for you to have it just at 6 p.m. or would you like to have it earlier?
I don't listen well.
Yes. I mean, I don't see any troubles right now in my internet. I'm gonna repeat. So I was mentioning, would you like to have it earlier, or would you like to have it at 6 p.m. as usually? You continue not listening?
At 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Okay.
Yeah, 6 p.m. tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. Fine then. Okay. So let me. Okay. Fine. Fantastic. Okay. I found the quizzes. Okay. So let's go with this. So yes, I mean, it's okay. Let's have it tomorrow then. On September 24th. No, so not September 24th. September 14th, right? Because tomorrow it's 14th. Very good. So let me here. And here. Okay. Very good. So let's start with this quizzes. Okay, this is about future continuous. So please, let's read. It says they, the cottage that weekend.
We'll be using the first.
All right. That will be using. Very good. And very good. And you understood here that it was a construction, right? They'll be using.
Yeah.
Yes, very good. Very good. Let's continue. Number 2, will be.
Washing. Okay.
Right. Okay. Watching the news at 10 p.m. Fantastic. Sorry, I can't. My daughter to work at that time.
Will be taking. What's it the difference in the second tier? Is it the same?
Yes, it's the same. I guess they just confused.
Yeah.
Which one would you like to get? The second one?
Yeah.
This one or this one? Okay.
Second, yeah.
Okay, you chose very well.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. I'll try my best to spot you. What
will you be
okay
wearing?
would you
Will you
be wearing? Fantastic, very good. We saw this as well, yeah, right? Yesterday we saw how to make questions as well. Very good. Don't forget your snow pants. Eat by the time you get to school.
will be snowing?
All right, will be snowing. Very good. Here we are, number 5. It's no, number 6 is now. We're sleeping.
Will you be?
Fantastic. Where will you be sleeping? That's it. Number 7. I during rush hour.
Will be driving?
I will
This
be
one.
okay. Fantastic. Nigel be coming to the picnic.
The first one.
Okay. Fantastic. Nigel won't, right? Will not. Number 9. At noon tomorrow, I on the beach somewhere.
Will we be relaxing? The second.
Fantastic. Very good. Okay. Last question. He will not be the bus today.
Taking.
He will not be taking the bus today. Fantastic. Very good. All right. 10 out of 10. Congratulations. It was a very good performance. All right. There we are. And yes, you won. First place, Shirley. Very good. Fantastic. So I think that you have comprehended the topic very well. Not for anything, you got 10 correct questions. So fantastic. Very good. So let's continue then with next topic. Now that we have seen that. And this is a very interesting topic, especially for theoretical purposes. I think that when I was reviewing this, I learned a lot, at least theoretically speaking. It's always good to remind this grammatical aspects. And I think that is also going to be very beneficial for you, not only in that theoretical sense, but in the application it has, right? Especially in our understanding of how our language is being expressed by ourselves. So let's read and discuss this topic, active and passive verbs. This is very interesting. So for example, first thing you have to know, verbs can have either an active or a passive form, okay? This is super essential. Verbs can have either an active or a passive form. We use the active form of a verb when we want to focus on the agent, that is to say, the doer of the action. I repeat, we use the active form of a verb when we want to focus on the agent, that is to say, the doer of the action. Let's read this illustration. For example, Talia is going to interview Nick later in the day. The example, if you notice, Shirley, focuses on Talia, right? Because she is the one who may interview Nick. And if you notice, the sentence is focusing, it's centering, concentrating in Talia. Talia is going to interview Nick later in the day. Now, let's read the opposite. What is the passive manner to use verbs? We use the passive form of the verb when we want to focus on the receiver of the action, okay? Of the receiver of the action. For example, let us read this illustration. Nick is going to be interviewed by Talia later in the day. In this example, we are focusing on Nick, if you notice, right? So let's read this again. The first example is for an active way or an active tense of the verb. In this case, we are using Talia is going to interview Nick later in the day. And in the second one, we are expressing Nick is going to be interviewed by Talia later in the day. This is a passive manner, okay? So that is the difference. I think it's very noticeable through these examples that in the first way, when we are using the active form of a verb, Talia is going to interview Nick later in the day, we are focusing on the person who is making the interview. And that principle applies to all the sentences, the person or the agent, that is to say, the object, the animal, the person, anything that is doing something to any other thing, okay? The thing that the thing that does something to any other thing, that is the agent, the doer. And that person, when the agent is the center of attention in the sentence, then we are using an active verb. But nonetheless, when the receiver of the action done by the agent is the focus and center of our sentence, then we are using passive verbs, okay? And there's, of course, a difference in how we write the sentence when we use passive instead of active. For example, if you read the sentence, Nick is going to be interviewed. As you notice, there is a difference very noticeable here. That is that in the passive manner, we are using past tenses in the adjectives, right? Or in the verbs as well. Nick is going to be interviewed, no? Entrevistado by Talia later in the day. The example focuses on Nick, right? Okay, so let's move on this to the paper for us to understand it better. But until this point, Shirley, did you get something of what I said? It's something comprehensible at least?
The first part, that's okay, the activity, but I had a problem with passive.
Okay.
Because Nick is another subject, probably you can see Nick. That's example, yes. I think that's like active.
Okay, I get it. Well, I mean, it is not active, but it is because you're confusing something. I'm gonna explain, don't worry. Because what this is about is not about if there is a subject or if there is a person doing something in the sentence. It is about who is doing it and who is receiving the action. I'm gonna put here the sentences together. So here we have the first sentence, and here is the second one. All right, so these are our sentences. Okay, so I'm gonna highlight this with I don't know, with very light blue, and this other one I'm gonna highlight it with green. Okay, so this is our active, and this is the passive. Oh, I'm sorry. Later in the day. Here, and this is our passive example. There you are. Talia is going to interview Nick later in the day. This is our active example. Now, what I said that we have to notice here, that Talia is doing the interview, right? She is going to make the interview. To who? To Nick, right? Now, in the second, passive double S. In the second example or the second sentence, this is passive because of this reason. If you notice, Nick is going to be interviewed by Talia. Now, you were saying, this is not an example of passive because Nick is another subject in the sentence. And that is true. Yes, Nick is another subject in the sentence. But if you notice the sentence, it is passive. Why? Because I ask you, is Nick in this sentence doing something? He is not, right? No. Read the sentence. Nick is going to be interviewed. He is not doing anything. The person who is doing something is Talia. He is going to be interviewed by Talia. He's not doing anything. The person who is doing something is Talia. Talia is the one who's going to interview Nick. Now, the only thing that changes in this passive sentence is that Nick, as I say, Nick is the focus of attention because he's the person who is going to receive the interview. Right? Can you see now the difference, or there is any concern here?
No, yeah, I got it.
Yes, fantastic. As you can see, this is the idea that in the first sentence, Talia is the center of attention, and Talia is the person doing the activity. In this case, interviewing Nick. In the second example, that is our passive way for the verb, Nick is receiving the interview. Therefore, as I say, our focus is Nick, who is, in this case, not doing anything, but receiving the interview, right? And that is the reason why this is passive. Passive in the sense that, you know, the very common and normal meaning of the words active and passive. Active when you do something, and passive when you receive it, right? So or those meanings still apply here. It's active when the center of attention in our sentence is a person who is doing something, and it is passive when the center of attention in our sentence is a person who is receiving the action. No more than that. That is the best explanation. Yes. Here. Going to copy this like this. Okay, so very important this. Passive and I always forget the double S. Okay, passive and active verbs. Sorry, passive and active verbs. Very good. So there was a word that I wanted to include here before we continue. It was treatment. Now, how do you say this? This is obviously this is the tratamiento, right?
Yeah.
Now the way you pronounce it in English is treatment, like this, treatment. Treatment, tratamiento, treatment, treatment, like that. Could you please pronounce it?
Yeah, treatment.
Yes, fantastic, treatment. So that is the pronunciation, okay, for this word is treatment. Okay, very good. I think that's it for now. But let us get this. Okay, orange, fantastic. So yeah, this here we have a definition of both concepts, passive and active verbs. That is the only, or those are the only categories, okay, for verbs. They can be either passive or active. There's no third option like half passive or half active. There is no such a thing. They are whether passive or active. Those are the only two possibilities. Fantastic. Yes, you had a question?
No, that's okay.
All right, fantastic. So let's continue with more examples. So let's go with actives. So let's write some actives. For example, I'm gonna write one and then you're gonna tell me one, okay? So for example, this one, number one, if I say, I don't know, Shirley is going to make the presentation in next week's class, right? Shirley is going to make the presentation in next week's class, right? Is this an active sentence? Yes, it is, because I am focusing on you, right? Because you are the one who's going to make the presentation in next week's class. So yes, in this case, it is active. Now, tell me one, whatever comes to your mind, active.
The structure is always is going to make verb, or they were different.
Yeah, it can be different. For example, I don't know. Actually, it is not necessary to make it in future tense. For example, she is, I don't know, doing her chemistry homework right now. This is, anyways, this is wrong. Yeah, chemistry with I. Sheila is doing her chemistry homework right now. This sentence is also active because, again, it's centering on you. The only thing, the only condition that you have to fulfill for this to be an active sentence is that you are the person who is doing the action is the center of attention in the sentence. That's the reason why I'm not writing here an structure, because as such there is no an structure, because this is not like a grammar expression. The only thing that we are discussing in this case is the two different possibilities for verbs that you can whether use them as if you were, in this case, as I mentioned, as if you were speaking in an active manner, or as if you were speaking in a passive manner. But nonetheless, for general purposes, I think that you're right. Let's write a structure. So the structure would be, of course, a noun plus a verb. Of course, this will be in the. It will have to be original version of the verb plus plus complement. I mean, as I say, it's very difficult to find a structure here because it's super broad, but let's try this one. So if you're using this one, could it be fulfilled? Let's see. Shirley is going to make the presentation in the next week's class. Original version of the verb is going to, yes, it's fulfilling. Shirley is doing her chemistry homework right now. For example, why am I not including the verb to be in this case? Because you can actually form sentences that are active without the verb to be. For example, if I say Shirley, come on, what is this? Shirley plays the guitar in class. So for example, this sentence, is this active? Yes, Shirley plays the guitar in class. This is active because we are focusing on you, right? Because you are the person who is playing the guitar. So this is actually, again, an active sentence. And I think the structure is working. Now, like, of course, there must be a noun because without a noun or without a thing to do something, there's no an active sentence, right? So this is super important. Noun or agent.
This is
Yes,
now
you had a question?
plus the action, yeah?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I got it.
Yes, exactly. There must be, as you said, a noun, an agent who does, right, the action. You're very good, very good. So this is basically the crucial thing. The most important element is something that is the agent, that becomes the agent. It must be a person, an animal, for example. Let's write one with an animal. For example, I don't know. The frog jumps to the, I don't know, to the cake, right? As in movies, the frog jumps to the cake. La rana salta al pastel. The frog jumps to the cake. Is this an active sentence? Yes, certainly. And are we following the structure? Yes, we have nation, and now in this case, the frog. Original version of the verb. In this case, what I mean by the original version of the verb is the opposite to the infinitive, because I think that here you cannot use the infinitive. The frog jumps to the cake, plays, or as I say, you have to always use the original version of the verb. You cannot use it with infinitives.
This is different.
The frog jumps, should replace. Yes, I had a question?
Yeah. Okay, my example. No, you don't have a good question.
Okay, fantastic. So give me
Okay.
an example.
Probably I can say, so she dances salsa every Friday.
All right, she dances salsa every Friday. Fantastic. Yeah, certainly. She dances salsa every Friday. Is this solving our structure? Yes.
So we can change this sentence for the passive verb. So every Friday she was dance. That's okay?
No. Yes,
No,
I mean, we can change it, but in this case, if you would like to change it, it would be salsa, because what is the thing that is receiving the action? Is salsa, right? So salsa is danced every Friday by I don't know, by Shirley. Let's change it. Salsa is danced every Friday by Shirley. Why? Well, because salsa, again, is like the thing that is receiving the action. She is dancing salsa. So salsa is in this case, the receiver of the action. Salsa is what you are dancing. So salsa is danced every Friday by Shirley will be the passive manner for this sentence. Yes, I mean, did you get it here?
Yeah.
This will be the passive. Okay, so very good. Let's go with passives. Let's try to convert all our examples with active into passive sentences. So here we have the first one. Always forget it. Passive with double S. All right, very important. So let's go. So the first sentence was Shirley is going to make the presentation in next week's class. So how could you transform, this sentence into a passive way? Tell me.
The presentation is the receiver.
Yes, the presentation. Yes, exactly. It's the receiver. The presentation is going to be made. Bye, Shirley. Bye, Shirley. In next week's class. Fantastic. So now, is there a structure for this? Yes, there is a structure in this case. The structure is the following. There's actually a structure here. Where was it? Here. It's the modal plus the be plus the past participle. I'm gonna copy it. Okay, for this one, there isn't a structure because it's a little bit more complex. Here is the structure. By model here, it means the receiver. Receiver plus be plus the past participle. Okay, so let's see. Is this one fulfilling our structure? Let's check it out. The presentation. What is wrong here? Receive. Oh, we was exactly the same, right? Well, doesn't matter. So the presentation is going to be made by Shirley in next week's class. We have the receiver, in this case, a presentation, right? We have, oh, I'm sorry, last year. We have the be, yes, is going to be made, right? And by Shirley, the past participle is going to be made. Here, as you can see, it's going to be made. We are using here, not by the way, the past tense of the verbs, but the past participle. Okay, so that is very important. Let's see another one. I think that we are going to understand better by another example. So, for example, the second one. Shirley is doing her chemistry. Oh no, excuse me. The chemistry homework. The chemistry homework is being done by Shirley right now. Okay, I think here it's very noticeable what I told you. That the structure says that for the verb that we always use after the verb to be. Now we are not going to use, as I told you, the past tense of the verb. We're going to use the past participle. By past participle, I mean, for example, what is the past of the verb to be? Is excuse me, of the verb do is did, right? This is the past of the verb do, right? Surely, did is the past of the verb do, right? The simple past, right? Yes.
Yeah,
you get it. But done is the past participle, right? The ones that you use when you are expressing present continuous, present perfect, past perfect. The past participle. This is different, as you can see. As I said, we are not going to use past simple in the verbs, but we are going to use past participle. This one. Another example would be, how do you say the past simple of the verb go? You say went, right? Went. But when you want to express this in the, as I said, in the past participle, you say gone, right? You remind? Gone, like this. So we're going to use these ones, the past participles, okay? Not the past simples. We're going to use these ones. So it's very important. Did you get this part, Shirley?
Yeah, I got it.
Fantastic. So let's see. The chemistry homework, okay, in this case, what is the receiver? The chemistry homework, right? Is, we are fulfilling verb to be, being done. As you can see, it's very important. We are not using the past simple, because if we were using the past simple, we would say something like the chemistry homework is did by Shirley right now, right? We would say something like that. If we were using the past simple, the chemistry homework is did by Shirley, but we are not using that past simple. No. We're using the past participle. The chemistry homework is being done by Shirley right now. Can you see? You see this part, Shirley, or any question? Tell me.
Okay, I don't sure for the past participle. I got the verb for the past participle, but this is begin. Does it part the past participle or does it?
Okay, but here the past participle is in done. This is simply a verb to be. This is the verb to be actually. As you can see, this is the verb to be. The chemistry is being. This is the verb to be. La tarea, ¿no? Está siendo hecha. I mean, we actually do not need to include this. Okay, yeah. So I think that was the word that was confusing you. It's not necessary. The reason why I use it is because I use it as a complement. But as you can see now, is the verb to be, right? Yeah. And the verb that comes immediately after is the one that uses the past participle, do. In this case, don't. You see it? Or any question, Tom?
Yeah, that's okay.
Fantastic. So yes, the chemistry homework is done by Shirley right now. Yes, I think that word was useless. Anyways, I mean, you can use it, but nonetheless, as I say, it's merely a complement. The original structure and the original expression would be this one. The chemistry homework is done by Shirley right now, right? La tarea de química es hecha por Shirley ahora mismo, right? It's done by Shirley right now. Very good. Very good. Let's go with the third example. Shirley plays the guitar in class. So help me with this one. How could you transform the sentence into a passive expression?
The guitar is played.
Okay, yes. Tell me.
The guitar is played by Shirley in class.
The guitar is played, very good. It's played by Shirley in class. Fantastic. The guitar is played. In this case, we are using anyways the past participle because remind for play.
That's the same.
The simple, yes, exactly. The simple present, excuse me, the past present is the same. Played. Then we have play that is the simple present. And then we have the past participle that is anyways played. It's the same, doesn't change. So the guitar is played by Shirley, yes. And is this a passive sentence? Yes, it is. Why? Because we are concentrating in the receiver of the action. In this case, the guitar, right? The guitar is played by Shirley in class. Fantastic, very good. Let's go with the fourth one. The frog jumps to the cake. I think this is more difficult, but let's try to make it. Yeah. The frog jumps to the cake.
The cake jump.
Yes. I mean, this is more difficult, but let's try to think about it. What about this one? Tell me, I mean, although it doesn't sound very well, I mean, you can actually convert it or transform it following exactly the same structure. Maybe it's not going to sound very much logical, but anyways, it's the correct manner to express it. How could you say it? Follow the structure. Don't let how it sounds to guide you. Just follow the structure.
The cake.
The cake.
Is
yes.
Jumped.
Jumped.
By the frog.
Yes, exactly. Very good. All right. So is this a passive sentence? It is a passive sentence. Now, of course, you tell me, but it doesn't sound well. Yes, it doesn't. It doesn't sound well. Not at all. And that is the reason why in many occasions and times, we actually prefer to use the active sentences. Now, as I told you, this is not a rule. You can use active or passive sentences as you prefer, depending on your own criteria. So when you know that a sentence said and expressed in a passive manner is not going to sound well, as this one, for example, the cake is jumped by the frog. El pastel es saltado por la rana. It doesn't sound well, not at all. So whenever you notice that a sentence doesn't sound well, we'll go for the active one. The frog jumps to the cake. As I say, anyways, this sentence is grammatically correct. The cake is jumped by the frog. It is a passive sentence. But as I tell you, it is not necessary to use it because it doesn't sound well. Aesthetically speaking, it doesn't sound well. So if it doesn't sound well, why to use it, right? Better to go for the active sentence that sounds 10,000 times better, all right? but as I say, it's very good. Any question here?
No, that's okay. Thanks.
All right, very good. Let's see the last one. She dances salsa every Friday. So I think that we all already translated this one, right? It would be, in this case, she dances salsa every Friday. So salsa is danced every Friday by Shuli. This would be. So write this one here. Number 5. Like that. The frog jumps to the cake. Cake here would be. This would be the 4th one. Any questions, Shirley? Please tell me.
I have a question, but I can see every example always use by. This is part of the structure, or you can change that.
That is a very good question. Yes, in this case, normally it uses by, but let's try to think about an example without by. Maybe, I mean, the only occasion in which you are not going to use by would be if you complement the sentence differently. For example, the first illustration that we had here, I think was very good with that. Nick is going to be interviewed by Talia. Well, in this case, anyways, you use by, yes.
Yeah.
Normally you use by. I mean, I was about to say this is not using by, but it actually does use. But yes, I mean, normally it does because by means por, right? Por Shirley, por la rana, por la, no sé, por Carlos, por, no sé, por Ramiro, por el auto, right? Hay un accidente por el auto. It's always going to be like, you're mentioning the subject, right? The agent who did the action, you are mentioning. So given that you're mentioning the subject, the agent, it's necessary to mention it by a preposition like by, because there's no other way to express por in English instead of by. There's no way to say that. Yes. Or unless, of course, you are not using by in that sense. For example, it could be the computer is bought for Ramiro. Now, for example, look at this sentence. The computer is bought for Ramiro. But it doesn't mean that in this case, it's bought by Ramiro, but for Ramiro, para Ramiro, not por Ramiro. Can you see the difference? For example, in this case, it would be Ramiro buys a computer for him, right? Ramiro compra una computadora para él. Now, if we're going to make this passive, it would be the computer is bought for Ramiro, right? The computer is bought for Ramiro, para Ramiro. In this case, we are not saying por Ramiro, but para Ramiro. So that would be the only, of course, case in which you wouldn't be using by, but not because the structure changes, but because of obvious reasons, but because you are not using by, but for, para Ramiro. Did you get this one, Shirley?
Yeah, you got it here. Thanks.
So yes, I mean, you're gonna find situations in which by is not going to be used. So always guide yourself by thinking, if I were saying this in an active manner, how would I say it? I think that is the best recommendation I can give you. When deciding to think, what should I use in my passive sentence? Always think about, how would I say it if I were speaking in an active manner? If you think about this sentence, right? I wrote it first in a passive manner, and then I wrote the active manner. The active one would be Ramiro buys a computer for him. Now, if you know that in the active sentence you're using for, then the passive sentence is also going to use for. The computer is bought for Ramiro. Okay? The same case, for example, with another sentence. Shirley buys the computer. Oh, well, I mean, that is the same. I was about to say for her, but it's the same. So yes, I mean, this is the structure. Any questions, Julie?
No, I don't have a question. That's okay.
Fantastic. Very good. Okay, so tomorrow we're gonna play with the quizzes so that we can clarify any doubts and concerns. And well, we're gonna be having the class. Okay, so very good. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. then, as usually. Let me say this, September 13th, right? Very good. And don't know what. All right, fantastic. Let me send it to you now. September 13th. There you are. Okay, fantastic. Well, so I'm gonna stop sharing this. Oh no, I sent it to another group.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was nearby yours. Okay, now there you are. So I'm gonna stop sharing this. Please help me with the traditional poll usually that we always feel, and I'm gonna take your assistance. Okay. So yeah, I mean, well, very good. I mean, for me, there's no problem. So tomorrow at 6 p.m., then we're going to have the class, and yes, and that is gonna that basically prevents us from having it on September 24th, so you can go and have your trip calmly and as you prefer. Okay.
Thanks.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure. Okay, so yeah, very good. So at 6 p.m. Okay, thank you very much, dear Julie. Fantastic. So I see you tomorrow, okay, with that quizzes, and thank you very much. Okay, have a wonderful night. Okay, see you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.